Call this meeting to order. Next question, Councillor Parkes.
Thank you, Your Worship. My questions are going to revolve around the particular request, which is for to provide Oshawa votes with $25,000. Thank you for coming out to committee, Mr. Longworth. At committee, I asked you some questions. I have a few more. How many people belong to Oshawa Votes?
Well, really, that's an irrelevant question.
Okay, but it is my question, sir.
We have a website, Councillor,
okay,
that is drawing more attention than 1,000 per month. And it's escalating very, very rapidly. There's a lot of interest in this issue.
So you don't have members to your organization, you have a website?
It's a pretty straightforward question. Just how many members do you have?
Yeah, we have 9,000. All of those people who support ward elections, and we're not confused by the question.
Okay, you have 9,000 visits to your website, or 9,000 members to Oshawa
He's claiming
Votes.
that all the people that voted in the referendum to retain the ward system are therefore members of his group.
Okay.
They have an equal interest to ours.
Okay, and when was your founding meeting held?
Well, I think the founding meeting, as I recall, Councillor, would have been held very shortly after the last election.
Okay.
When we formed a group to take some action.
And where was that meeting held?
That was held in my house.
Okay, that was held in your house.
And that's possible, isn't it? That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And how many folks did you have out to that meeting?
About a half dozen.
Half dozen, okay.
Yes, that was the nucleus of our group.
Okay, terrific. Now, you must have an executive. Who would be chair of this Oshawa Votes? Is that yourself?
Yes.
Okay, and your executive, do you have executive members?
Yes.
And who would they be?
Well, I'm not going to give these people's names. I haven't checked that with them, Councillor. Okay. But you know, this is a public meeting tonight, and I think it's appropriate that we have that information from them first.
Okay, so you don't want to obviously make that public. Do you have bylaws, written bylaws, a constitution?
Yes, we do.
You do, because when I asked that question at the committee meeting, you didn't have bylaws.
I didn't have them with me.
No, you said you didn't have them, so you've written them in the interim?
I didn't have them with me, Councillor.
Okay, so you do have bylaws. Would you be able to forward the clerk a copy of those bylaws?
Yes.
Okay. And now, do you have a policy? Because I imagine your organization sort of has a mission statement and policy. Do you have a policy around cyberbullying, Mr. Longworth?
Well, I don't know. Do you have a policy around cyber, public bullying?
Well,
but,
do you Do you have a policy, Mr. Longworth, with regards to threats and intimidation on the internet? It's a simple question.
We have not been involved with any threats whatsoever, Councillor, but what we have done is we have provided information. Okay. And so if you vote a certain way, if you want to take away the local representation from the O'Neill community, we're going to tell that community that.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Well, Mr. Longworth, advocacy and reason is an important part of democracy.
That's right.
Okay, and the debate with regards to the ward system and the at-large is a very serious and important debate.
It sure is.
And
That's why it requires information.
requires information, reason, logic.
Yes, and you haven't given any information. You've refused information to the public.
Sir, there are a number of letters here that are very reasoned and thoughtful from my constituents and from other constituents throughout this community. And then there are your letters, sir, which are, quite frankly, on the verge of bullying, and a few ones that we've just received have crossed the line. And I'm asking you, out of respect for the importance of democracy, which revolves around reason, okay, reason and respect.
And information. Reason, respect, and information.
And not coercion, to withdraw those letters and to apologize to the councillors that you have targeted with your cyberbullying.
No, I think this is bullying, because what you're doing is some innuendo over the public airways that somehow I have done something wrong. I stand behind everything I've done, and everything I've done is publicly available to the public on my website.
Sir, you're asking for $25,000 of public money, and quite frankly, your organization is a website to your own admission.
I didn't say that, no. That's part of it. We have very large emerging communication channels. And I think maybe that's what you're referring to by your last reference.
Sir, would you have been here if I didn't vote to hold the referendum? I didn't think it was necessary. I thought it was silly and a waste of time. And I was shocked by the outcome of that referendum.
Well,
I would never have expected the result that we got.
The question is?
Okay, and the question is, would you have been here today if the answer had been 65% voting in favor of retaining the ward system both for regional elections as well as local elections? Would you honestly be here, sir?
Councillor, I don't place much credibility in that referendum question. It confused the public.
My question is,
just as you were confused, you personally were confused with the same kind of question to give my group
would
vote.
you have been here?
You voted to give us $25,000.
Let's cool out here.
You voted to give us $25,000 because you personally didn't understand the question, the same kind of question you gave to the public.
Longworth, I'll just give you one clarification. The recommendation was that it be received for information. And That's what it was. It doesn't automatically mean that therefore there was a vote to provide you with $25,000. Things always have to be worded in the affirmative, that thou recommends to council $25,000. That's never happened.
Mr. Mayor, things are always worded in the affirmative. Why did they confuse 4 members of council?
Okay.
Who vote dozens of times a night?
Your Worship, I'm still waiting for the answer to the question. Would Mr. Longworth be here if the answer was to uphold the ward system and both regionally and locally?
Councillor Parkes, that is not a very intelligent question. Certainly I'm here to support retaining the ward vote. So if the result of the plebiscite had been to retain the ward vote, why would I be here?
Your Worship, my questions are complete, but I would just ask that the clerk make note that Mr. Longworth stands behind all of his communications on the internet and on paper, because I take that very seriously. Thank you.